Big day in the Dallas Cowboys franchise yesterday. Jerry Jones, the man who did the draft from a mega yacht and was hanging out, aside from Cliff Kingsbury, the biggest flex setup of draft night was Jerry Jones from his yacht. By the way, had a good draft. Seems to be something that Jerry Jones does do on a regular basis. Is he has a good draft, brings in good talent, and then when he brings in the good talent, for whatever reason, they were never able to really get going. I mean, they're always on national TV because Jerry Jones, I do believe, this is hearsay, he is a part of the committee for the NFL that negotiates the TV rights, and the Cowboys, whether you like it or not, their fan base is massive. And Jerry Jones is an owner that people either love or hate, so it's great TV. Anytime he speaks, people are going to listen and talk about it, especially in the sports world, because they are the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I, along with many others, have hated that for a long time because I've been a part of teams that were obviously better than their team. I feel like more interesting than their team. But then you look on Sundays, primetime television, Dallas Cowboys are going to be on there because the Dallas Cowboys fan base is so big. And the reason why their fan base is so big is because their owner was a marketing genius for a very long time. He marketed them as America's team. He went out there. He was the first one to really start traveling the team around to build the fan base. I mean, Jerry Jones, if you ever talk to him about business and listen to him talk about business, it is awesome to listen to. He's a very, very smart guy when it came to building a brand of the Dallas Cowboys. And that'll probably live on forever as long as the NFL, even past Jerry Jones, because Jerry Jones was that damn good at planting a seed of fanhood for people for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the entire drama surrounding the Dallas Cowboys the last couple of years was this. They had a guy that clapped as their head coach.
Yep.
A lot of smiling, a lot of clapping.
Here you go, boys. Come on.
Come on, guys. We suck. Why do we suck so bad? Good work, boys. We're probably not going to win a playoff game again, but we are upbeat positive. Jason Garrett, I don't know if he deserves that. I've never met him before. He is now offense coordinator for the New York Giants, so somebody had to like him. But they move him out. Mike McCarthy comes in. Here we go. Then the number 2 drama piece surrounding them for the last couple of years has been their quarterback, Dak Prescott, a man who was drafted late, was not expected to become their starter when Tony Romo was there. Dak Prescott literally played so well, he forced Uncle Tony Romo out the door to go into broadcasting to make, $70 million a year commentating games and everything like that. But Dak Prescott has been the guy for that franchise, underpaid for years and years now. And the conversation has been, hey, Jerry, you should lock in this quarterback. This is a guy that you should want being the face of your team, being your QB. And then Jerry always said, hey, I just want to win games. That's literally what he said last year. Let's win games, and then we'll talk about it. So then the conversation was, wait, is Jerry not sold on Dak Prescott? Is Jerry think that if Dak doesn't win, he's not going to pay him? Then we go into last season. Everybody's like, should extend him. He's going into his last year of his contract. You should do this. He goes, nay, not going to do that. Kellen Moore, the small little lefty from Boise State, becomes the offensive or the quarterback coach for Dak Prescott. They put in a lot of work going into the contract year, which everybody does. Dak has his best year. Cowboys don't win a lot, but Dak has his best year. So now the conversation is, congratulations, Jerry Jones. Instead of extending him before last season, now you're going to have to break him off. They end up paying everybody. $163 million in guarantees and contracts all around, or not in guarantees, but in contracts all around the Cowboys. We're talking linebackers, wide receivers, offensive linemen. Now D tackles are getting brought in. Head coaches are getting brought in. Dontari Poe, Clinton, Dick, Alden Smith, new kicker, new backup quarterback. Signed CeeDee Lamb as a first-round draft pick. They're paying everybody in the Dallas Cowboys organization except for the quarterback. And since it's the Dallas Cowboys, everybody was talking about, when's he going to pay? When's he going to pay? Franchise tag gets hit. Oh, they're going to negotiate. They're going to negotiate. That negotiation period comes and goes. Dak Prescott now playing on a franchise tag, which is like $30-some million next year. He is making a lot of money, but for whatever reason, he did not get locked down long term. Jerry Jones spoke about it yesterday at a press conference and said, we are now at the point of time in the world, basically, where it would be right to talk about that generational wealth type deal for Dak Prescott. Now, this is the guy who just handed out $100 and some million worth of contracts, what you have to do in the NFL. You have to pay people anyways. He just did the draft from the yacht, which is awesome, in the middle of a pandemic here. I think people are still locked in their houses at that point. Oh, yeah. He's cruising around the Caribbean while making draft picks. Give me that player there. Give me, hey, let's stop by Jamaica. I would like that player as well. So, I mean, there is a lot of lack of self-awareness in that thing. But I think whenever the Chiefs got this deal done with Patrick Mahomes, everybody was very intrigued to see how they were going to be able to pay him, because nobody knew what the salary cap was going to happen with it, or potentially being no fans in the stands, being no day-to-day ops at the stadium whenever you're selling concessions, because we don't know if there's going to be anybody in there. Hell, we don't even know 100% if there is going to be able to be a full season. So whenever the Chiefs locked in that deal, everybody was like, damn, they love this guy. And for the next 2 years, Patrick Mahomes isn't even in the top 50 salary cap hits in the entire NFL somehow. He's still getting $500 million. So that means that last 8 years of that deal, by the way, he is probably going to be number one until this Dak deal gets done. But Dak then had to come out and answer. And obviously, just like Jalen Ramsey we saw in Hard Knocks when he was asked about his contract, and he said, listen, I'm going to let them figure that out. I'm going to focus on my job. And the reporter goes, well, is that how you really? Sure. He's like, shut up. All right, you just shut up. I answered your question. Dak Prescott handled it the exact same way. And that's what everybody inside the Cowboys organization has said about Dak. They said Dak handles things the right way. He's the hard-working quarterback. He's a leader. He's the one that puts together all the offseason workouts. And you don't hear that a lot, by the way. You don't hear about Dak and the Cowboys until training camp time. You don't hear about the offseason workouts. You hear about Tom putting together the groups. You hear about whenever Peyton was playing, Peyton was putting together. You hear about all the OG quarterbacks. You're like, oh, they're throwing. I guess Dak was a guy that was putting together the entire team there, even as a rookie and moving forward. So everybody's confused on why they won't pay him. I'll tell you why. Jerry Jones just wants to win some games. And Jerry won't say it. Jerry says, I love Dak Prescott. He's the quarterback of our future. He's this, he's that. But when you're talking a $200, $300 million deal, and even though Jerry Jones said, my hands don't get cramps writing checks, I think his brain got a little bit of a cramp and said, wait, we have not even really done anything. Another team in our division has won the Super Bowl since we have had this guy. I'm supposed to pay him $400, $500 million, right? I ain't going to do that, but how do I handle it? We love him. We just can't pay him right now. We love him, but we just can't pay him. That's going to be something that's talked about until a deal gets done, or until somebody else comes in and potentially plucks Dak Prescott, because he is damn good. And we'll find out. Is it just the quarterback on why they weren't winning, or was it potentially the entire culture that was down in Dallas? The same culture that has a practice field, that has an entire business building around it with windows to the practice field, which I assume Mike McCarthy has come in and blasted all of them out and shattered them so you couldn't see anything. Is that the reason why, or is Dak the reason why? And I think we all sit on the edge of our seat wondering why the hell they didn't pay him and get this deal done. Because, by the way, these deals are only going to get more and more and more expensive as you wait. And I assume Jerry has already thought of that, but they need to figure it out.
Given everything that's happened, and like Jerry just basically doing all this lip service, and then Dak saying he still wants to be the Cowboys quarterback for the rest of his career, do you think this has strained like the relationship between them quite a bit, or not really?
I think Dak is so now. I would assume in Dak's back of his mind, he's like, hey, what the hell is going on here? Mm-hmm. And everybody talks about how, business is business. And when you go into negotiations, business is business. And the only negotiations you ever hear about, by the way, are the ones with big numbers in it. And I would assume the players in those negotiations are excited how the negotiations went. You don't hear about all the other negotiations that happen for the people, I don't want to say like me, but yeah, like me and other people in the middle who are making like a 1.5 million as opposed to the league men at 800 grand, the people that are making 2.1 million that you don't really hear about, that are maybe like a fourth linebacker, a fifth linebacker that's playing special teams. Those negotiations are terrible. I mean, and I think people understand that I'm a pretty big chip on the shoulder guy. You say something about me, I hate you forever. Those negotiations were something that were very, very, very tough for a person like me to be a part of. Well, you blah, 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 you blah, blah, blah. You also, it was Pawn Stars, and I was the gun that was sitting on the counter, and Rick didn't bring in the expert. It was just Rick talking the entire time, and that was what I felt like, and they were just bashing me. I'm like, yo, what is wrong with these people? And then as soon as the deal's done, and I got franchise tag, as soon as the franchise tag's done, I'm supposed to walk back in that building and be like, oh, you're awesome. Thanks for hey, thanks for everything you just said about how terrible I am, even though everything that I've done proves the exact opposite of that. But hey, happy to be here, excited to be here. There has to be a little bit of that. But if you think about Dak Prescott, he just saw somebody get $500 million. So what is Dak Prescott going to do? Dak is going to try to put everything aside and just worry about balling out this year. And he knows he's with a guy who has had very, very big success with quarterbacks. I think all Dak is worried about, not with Jerry, his agent, and Jerry will figure that out whenever the time comes after the season. I think he's worried about getting on the same page with Mike McCarthy, getting his offense rolling, because he knows if he wins and they do well, guess what? He gets paid. 18 minutes after the hour, got to get to a break. Shout out to the Cowboys giving us something to talk about that seems to be a little bit different than the college football drama that's going on.